My phone rang at 3:17 a.m., and as a single dad, your brain doesn't think wrong number, it thinks emergency. I grabbed it so fast I knocked over a cold mug on my nightstand, one eye on my little boy's door like I could will him to keep sleeping. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I heard a woman's voice on the other end, young, polished, and absolutely wrecked. "Please don't hang up," I whispered. "I think you've got the wrong number, but talk to me. What's happening?" She took a jagged breath. "I'm in my car, by the water, and I can't do this anymore." The words were quiet, not dramatic, just tired, like she'd been holding a boulder for years and her hands finally slipped. Every logical part of me wanted to say, "Call 911, call a hotline. I'm not trained for this. I have work in 4 hours. My kid has school." But there's a certain tone you only hear if you've been there yourself. I swallowed hard and forced my voice steady. "Okay. Name. I need your name." "Evelyn," she whispered. "Evelyn, I'm Mike. I'm a dad. I'm not judging you. I'm not going anywhere." "Where are you exactly?" She hesitated, then gave me the location. A turnout on the Bayside Causeway, the kind of spot where the city gets quiet and the water looks like it could swallow sound. My stomach dropped because everybody knows what people go there for when they don't want to be found. I stood up, pulled on jeans with one hand, and kept the phone tight to my ear with the other. "Evelyn, listen to me. Stay in your car. Keep breathing. I'm coming." Her voice cracked. "Why would you come? You don't know me." And I surprised myself by telling the truth. "Because someone showed up for me once," I said, "and I'm still here because of it." I called my neighbor, Ms. Rena, retired nurse, light sleeper, the type who doesn't ask questions when a kid might need help. She said, "Go, honey. I'll listen for your boy." Then I was out the door, driving through empty streets under streetlights that made everything feel like a movie, except the soundtrack was Evelyn's shaky breathing coming through my truck speakers. To keep her talking, I said, "Tell me one normal thing. Anything." She let out this tiny, bitter laugh. "My grandma had a garden," she said. "She used to tell me which flowers were dramatic and which ones just needed water." I smiled without meaning to. "Which one are you?" I asked. "Dramatic or thirsty?" A pause, then a whisper. "Both." When I pulled into the turnout, I spotted her immediately, a sleek black SUV parked like it was trying to disappear. I parked a few spaces away, spoke before I moved. "Evelyn, I'm here. I'm getting out slow." I approached with my hands visible, crouched a little so I wasn't towering over her, and when she rolled her window down, I saw the truth. Not the glossy kind. She looked expensive, sure. Perfect hair, coat that probably cost more than my rent, but her eyes were hollow, red-rimmed, the kind of pain money can't buy its way out of. "You actually came," she whispered, like she couldn't believe humans still did that. "Yeah," I said. I said I would. I didn't give her a speech. I didn't tell her life is beautiful. I just pointed at my passenger seat. "Come sit with me. Heater's on. We don't have to fix your whole life tonight. We just have to get you to morning." She stared like she was deciding whether hope was safe. Then she nodded and climbed into my truck. We sat there with the heater humming and coffee from my beat-up thermos, and for the first time, her shoulders dropped a fraction. She asked about my son, Liam, 9 years old, Lego engineer, believes his dad can fix anything because I work maintenance jobs and patch up broken things for strangers all day. I joked, "I'm good at looking confident and not touching the wrong wire." And it pulled a small, real smile out of her. Then the smile faded, and she said the quiet part. "Everyone wants something from me," she admitted. "Money, access, a favor, a piece." I nodded because I knew loneliness too, even if mine came with overdue bills and cheap cereal. The sky started to lighten from black to deep blue, and I thought maybe that was it. She'd go home. I'd go back to my life. We'd both pretend this never happened. Then she turned toward me and said, "Can I tell you something that's going to make you hate me?" My stomach tightened. "After tonight," I said, "I think we're out of surprises." She swallowed. "This wasn't completely random," she whispered. "When I called, I felt like you'd answer." 3 days later, she called again, and she sounded better, not cured, but awake. She asked to meet for coffee, and we picked a small diner where nobody wore suits and nobody cared who you were. She showed up in jeans and a hoodie, trying to look normal, and it almost worked until I noticed the way the waitress did a double take, like she recognized her, but didn't want to stare. That's when she told me her last name. "Carrington," she said, eyes on her mug. "And in our city, That name is on buildings, donations, gala invites, whole chunks of skyline. She watched my face for the moment it would change, like it always does for people in her world. Now it makes sense, right? She asked. That I wasn't just some stranger by the water. I leaned back and exhaled. The only thing that made sense that night, I said, was you sounded like you weren't going to make it to sunrise unless somebody showed up. Her eyes got wet, but she blinked hard like she hated crying in front of anyone. Then she confessed the piece that stung. She'd seen my name before. Not personally, not socially. Through a list. A counselor, a foundation project, something her people were researching after her grandmother died. I wrote your number down because you were listed as peer support, she said quickly. I didn't plan it. I swear I didn't. I wanted someone who wouldn't know me. Someone who would talk to me like I'm a person. It hit like a bruise. Not because she was evil, but because it meant it wasn't fate. It was a file. A name on paper. I stared at her and said, quietly, so I was a safety option. She flinched. No, she said. You were the only option that felt human. And that was the problem. I believed her. We started talking more, and it got dangerously easy. She asked about Liam's Lego city. I told her how he builds hospitals and police stations and acts like every problem can be solved if you just place the right piece. She told me about her grandmother's garden being the only place she ever felt seen. We laughed. We talked. It felt like two tired people, not a working-class dad and a woman with an empire. Then her world showed up, sharp and clean and ready to cut. A week later, I got cornered in a hospital hallway after her family scheduled a wellness check, like grief needed approval. Her aunt was all perfume and polished rage, eyes like glass. Michael Reyes, she said, like my name tasted wrong. We need to talk. She blocked the elevator with the confidence of someone who's never been told no. Evelyn is vulnerable, she said, and you are not in her world. I tried to laugh it off. Ma'am, I drive a 12-year-old truck and my son thinks fine dining is chicken nuggets shaped like dinosaurs. Trust me, I'm not hunting her money. She smiled without warmth. That's what they all say. Then she handed me a card, high-end law firm. Sign this, she said. NDA. Financial waiver. Walk away, and we make sure you're compensated. My stomach flipped because I knew exactly what she was aiming at. She wasn't aiming at me. She was aiming at Liam. Think about your child, she said, voice low. You have 24 hours. I went home and stared at my son's homework, my tiny apartment, the life I'd built on duct tape and grit, and for a second, the offer felt like oxygen. Then I heard Evelyn's voice at 3:17 a.m. again, that exhausted surrender, and I realized what they were really doing. They were trying to buy a person back into silence. I texted Evelyn one sentence. Your family came to see me. She called immediately, angry and scared. What did they say? I told her, and she went quiet, then said something that made my blood run cold. They're not just trying to scare you, she whispered. They're trying to control me. That's when she revealed the real trap. Her inheritance wasn't just money. It was control clauses, trustees, legal levers. If she could be labeled unstable, her finances could be frozen and her decisions could be taken away for her protection. And the lake turnout, that dark night, wasn't just trauma. It was leverage. The next confrontation wasn't in a mansion or a boardroom. It was in a bright hospital room where her aunt and two lawyers spoke like they were reading a script. Temporary guardianship, one said. For her safety, the other added. Evelyn's eyes snapped to mine like she was begging without saying the word. I realized right then I wasn't going to win with money. I don't have it. I was going to win the only way a guy like me ever wins, by finding the live wire and cutting the power. You want to talk safety? I said, calm enough to scare myself. Let's talk conflict of interest. They smirked. Mr. Reyes, this is not your arena. Funny, I said, because I'm standing in it. I pulled out my phone and showed them the filings I'd dug up, the payments, the consultant links. Their so-called independent evaluator had been billing her family's company for months. The room went dead quiet. The evaluator turned pale. The aunt's smile twitched. Then I did the thing they really didn't expect. I told them I'd already sent everything to a reporter. Not a threat. A warning. You can bully one guy with a truck, I said. You can't bully a headline. Evelyn stood up, chin high, voice steady. Drop it, she said, or I replace every trustee by the end of the week. The lawyers hesitated. The aunt stared at her like she'd never seen her as an adult before. After a long, ugly minute, they backed off, pending review, and Evelyn exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. Later, sitting in my truck outside the hospital, she looked at me and whispered, "I don't want you to leave tonight." My heart tried to run ahead of my brain. "I have a kid," I reminded her. "I can't be your rebellion." She shook her head. "I'm not asking for rebellion," she said. "I'm asking for real." And here's where it stops being a clean love story and turns into something messy. Because 2 days later, I got a call from that law firm again, and this time it wasn't an offer, it was a threat. They said if I kept contact, they'd come after me for interference, reputational harm, whatever rich people call, "We're gonna crush you." I looked at Liam's math book, then at Evelyn's message that said, "I'm scared they'll win if you get tired." And I realized the next move isn't about romance. It's about what kind of man I'm teaching my son to be. So tell me this, straight up. If you were me, would you keep fighting and risk dragging your kid into a storm he never asked for? Or would you step back to protect your peace, even if it means leaving someone to be quietly controlled by the people with money and lawyers? Drop your take in the comments, because this one isn't clean. It's right versus safe, love versus responsibility, and somebody's gonna call me the villain no matter what I choose.